So here's a cow really struggling on her front right foot, and this farm barely ever has any lameness. In fact, she's the lamest cow we've seen here all year. This is the Hoof GP. So yeah, I'm hoping I can do something about her foot pretty instantly, because that is seriously painful. Come to this farm every 2 weeks and genuinely have fantastic levels of lameness. She's gone lame pretty much an instant, and you can see the repercussions of it. Real pain. So the fact that our friend has all over her head is not her only issue. Clearly, this front right foot is giving her a huge amount of pain. Now that it's up in the air, we can see that this is folding over. This hoof horn here should be round here. This is wall horn, and our whole foot is actually twisted in the way, but when we open our claws up, we can see a real source of pain. We're actually going to ignore that completely to begin with. Clearly we're not going to completely ignore it, but we're going to get on with the trim and see what else we can do to help this cow, because I think this is going to be pretty dramatic. So as soon as I start using the grinder here, you can hear a real high pitch. That's because this foot is so solid. She's constantly lifting it up off the ground, and as a result, the hoof horn is dehydrating, causing the hoof horn itself to become incredibly hard. I know the inner claw is the main problem, so I'm trying to reduce it as much as I possibly can with the grinder. Trimming the hoof horn like this with a knife is not impossible, but it definitely feels like it at times. You can see, because of the inflammation, she's flinching every so often. The vibrations of the grinder are not something she's enjoying. And with the bulk of the hoof horn removed, we can now get on with the important part, the knife. So this clearly isn't the problem claw, but we're just going to get rid of all of this dirt over the top so we can kind of check there's nothing major in there. And there's not. Right, listen to that. Like stone. Right, different knife. We're going to go straight in with the model. Predictably, it is incredibly hard. So I'm not sure what we're going to find here. We could find a pocket of infection, we could find a huge cavity. This could just all peel away. I can see here the hoof horn is starting to come away from her sole. So we can actually get a knife in there and pry it away. But it does unveil some very, very raw, soft tissue in there. Ouch. Have you ever had a blister and opened it up to the elements? That's what that must feel like, but with 500 kilos bearing down on it. Okay, so this black spot is probably where this whole thing started. I'm just going to leave it again for just now, work our way back around here and keep thinning out this hoof horn. As I pull that, you can see everything try to squirt out the sides. Actually, it is squirting out the sides. There's Danny boy. No one is your sore, mate.
Daniel is the dairyman at this farm, and he does a fantastic job every day of the week looking after the health and well-being of these cows. It's just sometimes accidents happen, and that's exactly what's happened in this case. This has been brought about by some sort of accident. She's banged it, or she's twisted it, or she's been fighting with another cow, caused a bruise, and that bruise has turned into an abscess, resulting in this horrific foot we can see before us. The hoof horn itself is incredibly hard, and although this knife is as sharp as a razor, I'm really struggling to pull through the hoof horn. In fact, I'm struggling so much, I'm going to use the grinder instead to reduce the bulk of the material which I need to remove. That way this cow isn't in the crush for any longer than she needs to be. The vibrations from the grinder are not something the cow enjoys. But it's a necessary evil. I need to remove this overburdening hoof horn if we can treat the problem below. Once I get to the more delicate parts of the trim though, away goes the grinder once again, and I strive to remove every fragment of loose and detached hoof horn. Using my fingers and my eyes, I investigate the entire surface of the hoof. so that hopefully I can understand what needs to be removed.
It's white lines, that's where the problem there started. Look, that's congealed blood. See how it's black? And it's just spread.
It's tough work, and with Daniel peering over my shoulder, I'm constantly explaining what I'm doing and why this has happened to her in the first place, so that both of us can understand how going forward we can avoid anything like this happening, although it clearly isn't completely within our control. We're getting well through the trim now, and I need the block to have every chance of staying in position for as long as possible. So whilst I've got the grinder in my hand again, I scuff up the outer claw and make sure it's as level and flat as possible, so that the glue can bond extremely strongly to its surface. This cracking hoof horn extends up her wall horn all the way to the coronet, and I need to remove it again. If I don't uncover the problem below the hoof horn,
separating all the way up here too,
then we can't possibly treat it properly, and this cow can never truly heal from this affliction. It's tough going, but we really are beginning to make real good progress. You can see all the different areas of this hoof that have been affected by the white line defect, which has then been infected by digital dermatitis, making the problem much worse than it initially was. The tip of her toe is particularly hard, so again I turn back to my trusty grinder to reduce as much of that material as I possibly can. Then I grab my spray bottle and clean it out. Believe it or not, I'm actually really happy with how this trim has gone. We have removed a huge amount of material from over the lesion, uncovering it so that the topical treatments that we're about to use can work their magic. They can kill the dermatitis and allow hoof horn to completely regenerate without the bacteria or the treponema that is digital dermatitis. Once she leaves the crush, she is not walking fantastically, but I do believe she will be much more comfortable in the very near future.